Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. My name is Meg. I post mental health, lifestyle content on my channel and vlogs, and I would love to have you here. Today I want to talk about sertraline. I also wanted to say that sorry I did not upload 3 times this week on my channel because I had my wisdom tooth taken out and I was just not feeling good. So I'm coming back at you with a more sit down video. Well, I want to talk about sertraline and what I found that has changed since I started taking them. If you have any questions, as always, pop them in the comments and I can always make a video in the future about them again. So how long have I been taking them? So it is March, mid-March, coming to the end of March. So I took them about 3 or 4 months now. And I think I'm at a time period where I've started seeing massive changes. So I wanted to make this video to update you guys with it, and I hope that this can help normalize taking medication for mental health and also just allow a space for people to talk about it in the comments if you so wish. Anxiety, that is the main thing I've been taking it for, and symptoms of OCD. The first thing that has improved for me massively is sleep. Now, I used to be a crazy night owl, and I still am a night owl, but I feel like it has improved my sleep schedule a little bit more. I find that I'm able to sleep a bit better and I'm having more restful sleeps, which is just really good. Especially when I first started taking them, I found that my sleep, it kind of like recalibrated my sleeping schedule cycle a little bit. One of the side effects of sertraline is it doesn't always happen, but it can be increased appetite. And I've noticed that my appetite has increased and got a lot better. Now, some of you guys in one of my other videos spoke in the comments and said, you know, how do you deal with weight gain? Like, have you had any weight gain? I have not had any like noticeable weight gain from the medication. I think I might have gained a little bit of weight, maybe. I don't weigh myself that often, so I can't tell you like any numbers. The sertraline has increased my appetite, but that is not a bad thing for me personally, because when I was quite an anxious person, my stomach would get really anxious and I wouldn't be able to eat a lot. So it's kind of allowed me to eat a bit more and actually be a bit more healthier with how much food I'm consuming. This might not be the same for everyone. It might go each way, but obviously just from my personal experience, it's allowed me to eat out in public a bit more. It's allowed me to, well, I still ate out in public, but just less anxiety in my stomach whilst doing it, which made it difficult to eat out in public. I have not experienced any crazy weight gain, and I did say in one of my other videos is that I'm of the opinion that if you're at a point where you're really worried about weight gain and you want to take sertraline, kind of evaluate that, because my mental health was at a point where I was so stressed and anxious with everything that was going on in my life a few months ago. I didn't even think about weight gain. I was just like, get me, or I just need some help. So I feel like that is something that maybe you guys, if you're worried about that, could speak to a therapist or your GP about it. Kind of like figure out what our relationship is there about putting on weight and what that brings up for us, you know? Yeah, don't get me wrong. I definitely was in a point in my life where I definitely was scared to put on weight, but as time's gone on, I've kind of explored that and managed to come to a more like healthy way of dealing with like weight gain, weight loss and all that kind of stuff, you know. That's a side note. But anyways, before sertraline, my worries would go from like, say I'm in my room, the worries would go to my door, then they would go down the stairs, then they would go to my front door of my house, then they would go out for a whole walk with the dog and go in a lot of circles and maybe not come back to the safe space. On sertraline, I feel like I am facilitated to a certain blockage, and by this I mean I'll be in my room and I'll make it down the stairs, but I won't make it out the door and round the block loads of times. The worry kind of stays in its lane a little bit. In other words, I feel like my worry would go up all of the steps before sertraline, and now it just goes up a few. Sometimes it goes all the way, but it's very easy to come back to the safer space. An example of this is I am absolutely petrified of the dentist. The anxiety with things like this, I would just not do it. I would not go to the doctors because I'd be so anxious. I would not go to the dentist because I would just be so anxious I'd pull out last minute, because physically I was just so anxious. Now, the other day I got my tooth taken out, and yeah, it wasn't ideal. Like, who really can say that they love the dentist, you know? It's not a nice thing to go and do on your day off, but I was able to get in that seat, feel the anxiety, sit with it, and not my brain wasn't working at 1,000,000 miles an hour, making the situation 1,000,000 times worse than I already felt. I also was reflecting on that dentist appointment, and I would sometimes get myself in such a state with my anxiety where I would get migraines, I would get a bad stomach, I'd feel like so sick, my heart would beat really quick, I'd get a dry mouth. The night before that dentist appointment, I would usually get myself so worked up. The difference now that I'm on sertraline is that I can actually cope with the anxiety. The anxiety is sometimes still there, but I don't get myself so worked up that I make myself kind of ill. I'm on 50 milligrams, so I'm on like the basic standard level of sertraline, but I find that I have a bit of like more of a tolerance to it now. A lot of you guys often say like, will you go up a dose? Like, I can't say right now. Like, I probably might. I wouldn't say no to it. And I feel like that gives you kind of my overall experience and perception on sertraline if I'm not like hugely opposed to going up a dose, you know? Just a side note, like, I was so petrified of taking sertraline or anything really for my anxiety, and part of me wishes I did it sooner, because I'm thinking about certain experiences in my life where maybe if I had a little bit of help I wouldn't have broke out in panic so frequently over like what seemingly was nothing. I feel like I can function more normally now. I've also noticed that auditory wise I'm quite sensitive, and now since taking sertraline I am not so sensitive to noise. Sometimes I am, but I'm just noticing little things, you know. That seemed a bit muted than usual. All I can describe it as is it brings you back down to a level. Like, it's hard to explain because you know that you feel anxious, you know that you are working yourself up, you know that these thoughts come into your head and you attach onto them. I haven't made any content yet about intrusive thoughts, but I've struggled with intrusive thoughts as part of like OCD symptoms and anxiety, generalized anxiety disorder. And by the way, I've had a few comments about like people saying that anxiety is a good thing, and anxiety and I think there's a bit of confusion when it comes to anxiety, nervousness, and anxiety disorders. Like, I am not saying on my channel like I get anxious when I have a test due in, when I have to go and do a test or an exam. No, that is quite common because we have the adrenaline, we have the excitement, anxiousness around that, which is very common. Someone like me with generalized anxiety disorder, right? It's a disorder for a reason, and I have had a few comments kind of getting a little bit confused with generalized anxiety disorder. It's a disorder, it's not, you know, being nervous, overly you know, it goes beyond being able to cope. Same with OCD, for example, and intrusive thoughts. People say, we get intrusive thoughts all the time, you know, everyone gets intrusive thoughts. Someone with OCD will not think of that as an intrusive, untrue thought. They will take that intrusive thought and they will add meaning to it and absolutely catastrophize their existence and think they're an awful person. It's completely different. Some of these words like anxiety, intrusive thoughts, dissociation, all these words are fabulous that we're using them and making them more normalized, but unfortunately and naturally, not blaming anyone, it's also a natural human mistake to misuse certain words. But in my videos, I think people have been watching them and they are not really understanding my context, if that makes sense. Anxiety can be a great driver because we have adrenaline, we have, you know, all these kind of things. You know, if you say, oh my God, I'm obsessed with this TV show, it's a good thing. When we're so anxious that we can't leave the house, when we're so obsessed that we think we're a terrible person, that's a mental that's mental distress as opposed to just a typical way on this kind of moderate level that humans function. I just wanted to clear that up because I think there's a lot of confusion on the internet about mental health. The more it's spoken about, the more amazing it is. But in the context that I use these words on my channel are not related to a non-disordered pattern of thinking. Do you know what I mean? So anyways, back to my point. That's how it happens with the generalized anxiety disorder situation for me. And then I have symptoms of OCD that are kind of like usually a tree with anxiety. Usually when people suffer with mental health, it's not one thing. Like, it depends how you feel about diagnoses. But when I was in NHS therapy, I did have symptoms of OCD told to me by a therapist. So and I can definitely agree with that. I can see that within myself when it was pointed out. So intrusive thoughts have definitely lessened for me. And also, like, we all get weird thoughts. And for me, I feel like I just get weird thoughts now, like typical baseline level, like a typical reaction, as opposed to the symptoms that dysregulate me, which is the issue. When we think of things like OCD and anxiety, they are different to, like I said, I'm obsessed with that TV show, or I'm really anxious for that test. Bringing it back to sertraline, the only negative symptom that I have that still carries on is in the morning I do still find it a little bit difficult to like bring myself around. Takes me, like, I probably have to wake up like half an hour earlier just to feel awake. Otherwise I can feel really, really out of it if I just get myself up and like rush. So it kind of does force me to take things slow in the morning a little bit, which I'm kind of not mad at, to be honest. I mentioned in my last sertraline video that I started taking it at nighttime as opposed to in the morning, which I find has helped me not feel as groggy when I wake up, which sounds weird because you think it'd be the other way around, take it in the morning, not the night. But used to take it in the morning, now I take it at night time, and I feel like I'm not as groggy and tired when I wake up. I'm so grateful that I feel a bit more like I've got my head above water a little bit with my anxiety symptoms and certain thoughts and things like that. How do you guys feel? Because it's so interesting to me that I made like 2 videos about sertraline, and I thought, yeah, you know, like I think I've covered most things, and then you guys ask me questions, and it just makes me think there's so many individual levels of questions and individual experiences, and that may need a different dialogue, and it isn't just not solvable, but it isn't encapsulated in just a couple of videos. So at the end of the day, like, you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel and you watch my videos, and on my community tab you tell me what you want me to talk about, so obviously I'm gonna do that. So I hope that this video provides you with a little bit of support, or you just enjoyed watching this for some reassurance, or just a little bit of background knowledge to someone who has taken sertraline for the first time, was petrified of it, and now I'm fine. But yes, I will put a playlist at the end of this video so that you can watch my other sertraline content, where I touch on things like more in depth why I wanted to take them, my first couple of weeks on sertraline, my 2-month update. We've been on a journey together with this whole thing, and I'm glad that I logged it, because I feel like without me talking about the first couple weeks, I wouldn't have, you know, like, we've got the whole journey. So thank you guys for being here for it, and I'm so grateful for your lovely comments, and I'm really glad that some of you found it useful, because that's what this channel is for at the end of the day, whether it's to make you laugh, to make you feel more reassured. Hopefully my content can do that in some way, shape or form. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, because I post content like this and also vlogs, study content, and I would love to have you here. Take care as always, and I'll see you in the next one.